Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And in today's lesson, I'm going to probably entitle it Out of Touch with Reality. And yesterday being 4th of July, you had, was it the U.S. celebrating their 250th year anniversary, and all these people, I mean, as they do yearly, but getting into that 4th of July spirit and fireworks and blah blah blah. But the reason that I want to title it Out of Touch with Reality is the reality is that there's still war. The threat of war hasn't passed yet, right? And obviously we know, based off of biblical prophecy, which supersedes even secular events, that the Lord is getting ready to turn things up. But the attitude and the mindset that these people have, especially now that the weather is getting warmer out, is, as a matter of fact, let me actually start off with this precept because it's very fitting for it. Here in the book of Psalms, the 49th chapter and the 11th verse, which reads, "Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names." Now, the first part here is what I want to focus on, which is that their houses shall continue forever. And this is how majority of people here in the West live, right? They live as though they are promised tomorrow, right? They live as though just the way that life is now is how it's going to continue to be until they end up getting old and dying, or, until they're taken off of the earth, right? That's how they think about it. They don't realize that it's not your time limit isn't going to be when you are old and you have to go off the earth. No, the Lord is going to cut that short when he brings the shocking reality of what he's been preparing for all these years. But these people are not of that mindset. They're out of touch with actual reality. When you go to certain countries, even till today, whether they're facing famine or like even what's going on with Venezuela, here in America, especially, because people they're not experiencing these things like they are in some of these other countries. It's easy to just forget about it, right? You may see it on the news. They may make a Instagram post or a status post. Oh man, pray for Venezuela or whatever other country this is, and then they go about their day, and then forget about it until the next time they see something on the news or some other social media post about that event. Then they remember again. But for in those areas that are actually being affected, their reality is this is, you don't like, the difference here is you see this and then you still can go out and have fun, and then you go to work and come home, turn on the TV, binge watch your favorite TV show, go to sleep, wake up the next day, and then check up on what's going on. Over there is no, let me take a break from this and let me go to the gym, or let me go out, get a drink, go for a walk, and then come back and and then check in on how things are going here. You have people's houses that are destroyed, loved ones that are dead. They can't even find their bodies. Like, this is what they're facing 24/7, right? And what I mean is that that reality is what they're living in 24/7. There is no break from it. And the worst part about it, for those that are out of touch with reality here, is that reality is coming and is not going to hit the brakes. It's going to hit these people full speed ahead, and that it's going to be a shock, right? You're going to be forced into reality through a shocking event that's going to sober people up very quickly, and they're not going to be the slightest bit prepared for that, mentally, physically, psychologically, because their whole lives they've been out of touch with reality. And when you travel to certain parts of the world, most people that travel to certain parts of the world, the touristy areas is where they go, because you're going for a vacation, right? You're going to enjoy yourself. You're not going there because you want to really see what difficulties in life is like over there. Not most people don't do that. So somebody may go to another country and say, "Wow, this country is so nice and it's so beautiful," but that's because you went to the best parts of it. That is meant to give that impression. But if you were a commoner living in there, you probably wouldn't be thinking that. It would be very difficult, like having to work really hard and not being able to enjoy the luxuries that you enjoy in your everyday to day life. That is the reality for them. That you have to interact with the real world, not through social media, not through a digital profile or avatar, not through posting online. Like the problems that people complain about and have here is so trivial on really on the grand scheme of things. You're upset. You're going back and forth with somebody on a Instagram comment board because they had a different opinion than you, and that's a big deal. And then it gets so bad they're going to kill each other over it. Like these are the problems people are worried about. Majority of it is others' opinions. If you got time to be worrying about others' opinions, shit, you must have it good. In different parts of the world, that's not what they worried about. They thinking, yo, like how am I gonna feed my family? Literally, like having to think about that. Where here you don't even have to think about the resources you need to feed your family. It's all delivered to you. You're in the comfort of your home, and they bring you the resources that you need. Right, and it's already pre-made. And all you gotta do is just put it together, depending on what it is you ordered. As we're in other countries, that luxury, look, if you get a chicken, that chicken is alive. You gotta go and do the rest. You may go to the butcher shop, get it, already cut in different parts, but that's the reality. And that's why people here, if when all hell breaks loose, and say the Lord was like, "All right, I got you. I'm gonna send you know, a lawful animal your way, and then that way, you can survive." A lot of these people will just look at it like, "Oh shit," and then run away. No, that you asking for food, that is your food. But they don't even know the first thing about what to do in that situation. So the next precept that I had here, let's see. And the worst part about it is it's not just done in pure ignorance. They love it so. And you know that because when you try to educate them on reality, they don't want to hear that. Once again, because their inward thought is that everything is going to continue as it's already going. So why should you bother? Why should you care about the rest? Look, your reality is about to change. That's why you should care. And if you've been paying attention instead of being out of touch with reality, you would have seen the trend of how the world is going and how that's coming to affect you. This is Proverbs 22 and 3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil. What does it mean to foresee the evil? You see it before it comes. You're looking ahead. So you're anticipating, you're calculated, okay? In this situation, what does it look like if things go south in a situation like this? And how can you have a mental model of preparedness for it? Should that be the case? It's not that it's always going to be the case, but you always want to be prepared if it ended up being the case. That's the point. And hideth himself. But the simple pass on and are punished because they don't foresee the evil. Their dumbasses are so locked out, they think nothing bad can ever happen. Like, how does that work? Oh, well, I don't think that fire should burn me. So because I don't think that it should burn me, I'm going to put my hand in it anyway. Yeah, your thoughts don't control the properties of nature. Sorry, you don't got that spiritual power. Okay, you can't. So what? Like, who cares if you don't think fire should burn you? Is that gonna change the nature of fire? Absolutely not. You know what it's gonna do? It's gonna cause your ass to get burned. That's what's gonna happen. Okay, so the simple pass on and are punished. You go around, in a simplistic mindset, thinking, well, I don't believe what you're saying, or I don't think that that should be the case, even though it is. I don't think that should be the case, so I'm gonna ignore it. Oh, there's a fire in the building, but I don't think that that should be the case, so I'm just gonna sleep. And then what happens to your ass? The next time you wake up, you'll be in the spirit world because you didn't think that that should have been the case. And the fire thought otherwise. And that leads me to Isaiah, the 33rd chapter and the 6th verse, which reads, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times." We live in an out of touch with reality society, but as the scriptures say, we are in this world, but we are not of this world. We're not cut from the same cloth or the same material of this world. So we think differently. Even though we're amongst people that are of the world, we are not of the world, though we are in the world. And so we maneuver as such. So that way, by staying in tune with reality, when reality does hit, we're already on that type of time. We're already on that mindset. And so it's not as shocking. Like, we're not gonna go into shock like somebody else whose mind has never been exposed to reality on that detailed level before. People rarely ever even have to run in their actual life. People can go years without running once. Like, let that sink in. You can go years without running. They just walk everywhere or get in a car. So what do you think is going to happen? That, like, what do you think, how do you think their joints, their hip flexors, their calf muscles, their toes, how do you think the parts of their body are going to react when they instantly go into a fight or flight mode and they have to run somewhere? The body's like, do what now? Listen, bro, we ain't done that since 1987. And you want us to do what? Full speed? Oh, hey, don't count on it. Do not count on it. So they're quite literally and figuratively, but literally not prepared to face the cruel and harsh reality of where this world is headed. And as it says, Isaiah 33 and 6, once again, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times." This true wisdom and knowledge and understanding, right, of the Lord. The scriptures say that, "Let him that glorieth glory in this, that he knoweth me," right? So the true understanding of the Lord, that will keep us stable in these times. Anything else that this world makes you think would make you accomplished is not going to give you that stability that you think it's going to give you. Because you're going to lose your mind. You're going to be one of the first people to lose your minds because your worldly knowledge does not equal spiritual stability. You're not going to know what to do and how to maneuver when the Lord brings his destruction, as his prophecy or as is prophesied, because you never learned about that or cared to. It says here, "In strength of salvation, the fear of the Lord Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, is his treasure." And it is our treasure. Because what else is the fear of the Lord? The fear of the Lord is also wisdom and knowledge. So that fear, having the fear of the Lord, leads us to everything, gives us everything we need to strengthen us getting that salvation and to keep us stable in these times. So knowing this, what ought we to do? At least those of us who know, who are in the know and are already doing what we're supposed to be doing, keep on doing it. That is an exhortation to keep on doing it. And take note as to those around you, seeing and being grateful to the Lord for blessing you with the spirit and opening up your eyes, because you could have been like those that are around you who, when even with the world at the point that it is right now, they're still concerned about worldly events and activities. That's where their mind is. These people, and I had this thought yesterday, the majority of the world live for themselves. We live for the Lord. Okay, we live to serve the Lord. We live to do what the Lord asks us to do. That is what our life is about. But majority of these people, as much as they say that they do, they don't actually serve the Lord. Some of them haven't even served the Lord a day in their life. It's all about how the Lord can serve them. What can he do for them? It's never what they can do for the Lord. And if it comes to sacrificing for the Lord, they won't even sacrifice for themselves. How many people say they want to be fit, but won't sacrifice time or going out or drinking to focus on their health and having a better diet and sacrifice time doing vain things to actually go to the gym and exercise. Even if it's for themselves, people are not willing to sacrifice. How much more for somebody else, regardless of if it's for the most high or not. And that's why the Lord said, then shall they be known who are my chosen. Because the world doesn't see the things that we do for the Lord. They don't see the what goes on internally for us when we serve the Lord, but the Lord will let that be known outwardly by what he does for us. So it's a blessing that the Lord has given us that mindset to where we live our lives to serve the Lord and not like the rest of these people in the world who only live for themselves. Because when that time comes, we can at least make a plea to the Lord to say, Lord, please remember the things that we have done and have mercy upon us. Because if not us, who? So the moral is, even as this world is out of touch with reality, we ought to keep our heads on right and continue to maintain, finish the course, right? Stay on the right path. Don't deviate to the left. Don't deviate to the right. You're doing good as it is. Just keep on going because we're almost there. And it's all at that point, everybody's going to know, right, what the truth is. Just like when the Titanic was sinking, eventually everybody knew that the ship was sinking. The problem, the real, what matters then is, are you on the sinking ship or are you on a lifeboat? And you don't want to end up on a sinking ship. So with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and exhorting to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.